Real
But are
quick,
the Kings kind of playing that game that the Sixers kind of played last year? They're like, we want to add this piece, but I don't want to give up one of my two
Matisse.
that I've sort of fallen in love with, and then they're going to miss out on it altogether. I don't know.
Well, the big news is Matisse Thybulle. People are like, whoa, Matisse Thybulle. That's kind of the big news, is that people are like, the untouchable of this trade is Matisse Thybulle, especially getting back a Buddy Hield, a Haliburton, a Harrison Barnes. You're giving up your best defensive player and not getting that back in return. That's been like unanimous that I've seen, at least on my timeline.
You don't have enough scoring on this team. And as much as I love the way Thybulle plays defense, I said this before we came on the air, Dimes, it is sometimes cringeworthy watching Matisse Thybulle on the offensive end of the court. Like, yeah. I love the kid. I do. But I think this is a typical Philly situation, right? We fall in love with the guy, with the grit, with the big smile, with the hard work. And I'm not saying there's not a place for Matisse Thybulle, but if you're able to get guys that put the ball in the hoop so that Embiid doesn't have to spend 100% of his time scoring, it just benefits this team in so many different ways.
And I'm still reeling from TJ McCollum walk.
Yeah, seriously. But like, I'm telling you, I was thinking about this today because as people were talking about Jalen Hurts, and there's still this conglomerate out there who refused to admit that he played a woeful game on Sunday. And it's like, we love these guys so much that we turn blind, as smart as fans as Philadelphia fans are. And we're smart. We get blinded so easily. We put the rose-colored glasses on. It's the Robert Covington syndrome. It's the TJ McConnell syndrome. These guys are average players at best that we think are untouchable. No wonder we can't get anything here. Like I love TJ McConnell, but I guarantee you that you could go into any gym in America and TJ McConnell could be in there and you wouldn't know it was him. You would think he was just another guy playing pickup. Like, I mean, it just is one of those things about this town that I can't get to. Like, I love Matisse Thybulle. He's a great young kid, but damn it, he can't shoot a basketball. He just can't.
SexyScenarios.com, nice plug there, says, I am not trading Matisse Thybulle. He says he or she says trade Simmons and move on. The problem with the trade is that none of the players are better than Seth Tobias or Maxey. No. You're adding depth without adding a good starter. I think Haliburton's a really good starter. I think
people don't know Haliburton enough in this town, and the fact that he plays in Sacramento, it's not like they get to see a lot of his games. I don't know how many times Sacramento has been on national television, and I don't know, the last 15 years. So
I do think that trading Simmons and moving on is a sexy scenario. So I do think that is correct.
And I was going to say, yes, I agree with that point, but it's very hard for me to take some analysis from a man by the name, man or woman, with the tag name of sexy scenario. So no offense to you, but I'm going to stand with my opinion from a guy named Rob before I take the opinion of Mr. or Miss, or whatever pronoun you're using, sexy scenario.
That's my favorite.
I like whoever this is now. They play along, so I like it. I'm in.
Here's a real take. We've got D Drippy Network in the house. What's good? Go subscribe. Please share the love, guys. Amazing channel over there. Here's my real take on this is what is Matisse Thybulle's contract situation? Because I think just as we dog guys like that we've seen in the past that kind of get a little bit more money than they should, then we dog those kind of guys. Like once they get that next contract, you look at Matisse Thybulle, real lineup combination issues, especially in the fourth quarter with Joel Embiid. That is real. Like the reason why he's in the corner and you see Joel Embiid get just dogged and hammered down low is because, defenders have zero respect for that guy with his shooting. So that is kind of like where I am like going here is that I love Thybulle, like you said, Rob, but at the end of the day, there are real concerns about this guy's fit with Joel Embiid moving forward.
why do we not want Ben Simmons here? Because in the fourth quarter, he no defense comes him because he can't shoot. And look, Matisse is a great defender, but I think Ben Simmons is a better basketball player than Matisse Thybulle. No offense to Matisse, just putting that out there. But we're so willing to get rid of Ben. But Matisse Thybulle is untouchable. Like, it's to me, that's what boggles my mind. Like, I understand getting rid of Ben, but then you got to be understanding about getting rid of Matisse Thybulle. Like, it's just, I cannot wrap my head around this idea that Matisse Thybulle's untouchable now. I just can't do it. We've seen enough. And like you said, his next contract's going to be for a lot of money because someone's going to pay it. I don't want to do that again. Tobias Harris doesn't stink at basketball, but he's not worth the money he gets. And we bring that up every damn day in this town. So why don't wait around to have this situation play itself out again with Matisse Thybulle? Move him with Ben and get me a kid like Haliburton who could create, who could play defense, who could shoot. And I'm going to be very on top of the fact you get a shooter like Buddy Hield off your bench. Harrison Barnes is just a veteran. He may not, but he can still play the game a little bit. And 2 first-round picks from that franchise, the hell are they going to win?
And Philly's going to love those guys anyway. They're going to love Haliburton here.
Yeah.
Just let him play a little while. They'll love him.
Yeah.
I love this comment from Sean, disappointing the TJ McConnell slander. I have very good memories. I'm a big Ricky guy. I used to be. Writes the Ricky Sanchez podcast. I remember going to see that guy at a concert venue, and he's just double fisting beers. I
love McConnell.
I was
a big fan. I remember the year that he signed as an undrafted free agent playing the summer league, and I was pumped because I loved him in Arizona. Like I was like, oh, I love the kid. But I never believed he was the star. Now, the other guy, a part of those years that everyone loved, Robert Covington. If I never saw Robert Covington pick up a basketball again, it would be too soon. Yeah. I loathe Robert Covington. And I think a lot of it, and I used to say this when I did the madness with Jess all the time. She used to dog me on it. I think it was his fans that made me hate him more. Like the stands for Robert Covington that would take to Twitter and talk about how great he was on the defensive end because he got tips. That guy on the ball, I'm telling you, people ate him. Like the one year, I think it was LeBron James, averaged 30 points a game against them. And everyone's like, look at how he does against LeBron. What are you talking about?
Well, for where Hinkie found him.
Yes.
Great value.
Absolutely.
Great value. But the way people acted like he was, there was a time where people actually, I think, thought you could build around Robert Covington. And I just sat here and wanted to rip my hair out. There were idiots in this town that thought that. It was the thing. It was the same thing. It was the same thing with Nerlens Noel.
There's no way. I was among those idiots. No one ever said Robert Covington you could build around a guy like that. That was exactly what I was directly referring to with Matisse Thybulle. When he gets that next contract like Robert Covington did, expectations change, in terms of look at Danny Green's new contract. Danny Green he's on the tail end of his career. He gets a fancy contract, a new contract with the Sixers, and they expect Danny Green to have a more impact on this Sixers offense. That's not what Danny Green is. There's a clear delusion about different contracts in Philly sports.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying though, I can remember that first year where we finally had a team put together and Simmons was playing and Embiid was playing and JJ Redick was here, and the playoffs against Boston that year when they go to the second round and Robert Covington was used and abused. Him and JJ Redick were used and abused the whole series. And everybody wanted to tell me, no, Robert Covington is a starter in this league. And I said, you're all smoking. I would like what you're smoking because I'd like to feel this way and be loopy as well.
And that was also the series that TJ McConnell had to come off the bench and save Ben Simmons bacon when he was doing Ben Simmons things in the fourth quarter all those years ago.
Sean says Robert Covington is strictly in there for cardio at this stage. There was a play. There was a play. Speaking of Robert Covington, there was a play where Charlie Brown got the ball in a fast break and completely bricked a lane on fast break. And I'm just thinking of I'm not comparing the two whatsoever. But you think of like a defensive stopper, you think of like a wing, a guy that you want energy. Like that was kind of Robert Covington coming through the G League or D League back then to where he is now. And like you just saw, I had shades. It's funny. I threw back this game to 2001 where Larry Brown threw the ball to AI and everyone else just stood around. Same thing here tonight. Same thing here with Robert Covington and just Charlie Brown has no touch around the rim. No touch.
It's been 5 years since I've ripped into Robert Covington like I have here tonight. That was not my plan coming into this episode. But somehow it got to that. And all I can remember is everyone telling me he's a 3-and-D guy. And I was like, he's not a 3 guy. Like one game he may hit 6. The next 6 games he may hit 1. Like it's just I couldn't get. And you said it, Dibes, when he would drive to the basket and throw up the shit that he would throw up.
It was bad.
Cringe-worthy.
Yeah. Rob says I would definitely trade Matisse for Haliburton straight up. I don't love Hield or Harrison Barnes. The only thing I'll say about this trade is if you would make this trade, I'm not saying I would, but like what's the missing ingredient of the Sixers offense is 3-point attempts. The Sixers are they have been always among the worst in 3-point attempts. That's Tobias Harris. That's Matisse Thybulle. Just way too much hesitation on the perimeter. You look at these 3 guys, 19.1 3-point attempts per game. That is more than half of what the Sixers average per game. Just those 3 guys. 41.1% from 3, and they all shoot 43.6% from 3 in the catch and shoot. So if you add those guys around a just historic big man like this Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, I don't know what you want, like massive point guard big man. There is something there, right? Like there is something there. Like you have just tons of floor spaces around. I mean, Korkmaz isn't getting done. The dude is shooting 30% from 3-point range.
Another one.
It's literally what he's there to do, and he's not getting it. I know he probably had a pretty good game tonight. I think he was a pretty positive. He had a 15. He was a plus 15. He had 1 of 2 from 3. But Korkmaz is what he is. Like he's at the end of the bench kind of guy. If you want to build around guys that can, give Joel true spacing on the perimeter and get him the ball down low to dominate, which we saw tonight, the trade somewhat makes sense.